As the introduction of this topic, the COVID-19 has given the biggest impact to the economic sector to the world. This is because the economic sector was distracted by the largely driven forward by the demand. So when this COVID-19 pandemic happens, people can no longer purchase goods or services that been provided. So a lot of companies need to start cutting off the workers to make up back the lost revenue. So this problem will create a downward economic spiral when the newly unemployed workers can no longer purchase the goods or services. So during this pandemic also, the government already take a few steps to overcome this problem. So the first thing is the government has increasing the provision of monetary welfare for citizens and ensuring businesses have access to funds they needed to keep their staff employed throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. So this COVID-19 seen heavily affected the travel and tourism sector. So to slow the spread of this virus, the countries around the world have placed restrictions on travel, meaning that people can no longer purchase flight tickets for holiday or business trips. This reduction in consumer causes airlines lost planned revenue, meaning that they need to cut their expenses by reducing the number of flights that they operate by a day.
Hi, my name is Haziq. So today I will share about the impact of tourism and travel sector due to the pandemic. So the COVID-19 first reported in December 2019 in China before wider spread around the world. The pandemic is highly impacting the tourism industry in Malaysia, particularly the airlines and hotel businesses. Apart from that, this study also discussed the stimulus package offered by the Malaysian government in order to ensure the sustainability of the tourism industry in Malaysia. So, the outbreak of COVID-19 has exposed a major risk to Visit Malaysia 2020 campaign, as 50% of Malaysia tourists originate from Singapore and China. So, the increasing cases of COVID-19 in both countries has led to the cancellation of many tours, which has already led to a large drop in the number of tourists to Malaysia. In order to fully contain the virus, the Prime Minister of Malaysia announced the 4th phase of Movement Control Order, which is MCO, as they expected the number of COVID-19 cases would continue to increase. The airline industry players has highlighted the current travel ban and plummeting the demand around the world have put the loss-making carriers at risk of bankruptcy. All three Malaysia major airlines, namely as Aviation, Malindo Air and Malaysia Airlines, have initiated salary cut range from 10% to 100% and unpaid leave depending on the salary range and position. The drastic loss of both revenue and profit for all three major Malaysian-based airlines, which has resulted in high risk of bankruptcy, has caused the airline to ask the government of Malaysia to step in to provide support to the airline industry.
As we all know, during the COVID-19 pandemic and movement control order, the supply and demand for aviation flights have fallen dramatically. This situation occurs because there is a significant decrease in the number of passengers due to the fact that Malaysian government has imposed travel bans as well as nationwide lockdowns. Countries around the world have also taken similar steps just to curb the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, AirAsia will have to reduce the number of flight operations as well as increase the price of flight tickets just to stay afloat. This change of reactions are causing market disequilibrium.
Okay, first of all, this is the graph for demand and supply in the Aviation company. It is before the COVID-19 outbreak. As we can see, the demand and the supply line is in the normal range because the consumers still want to travel using the aeroplane and the market equilibrium have been reached. Next, this is the graph of the supply and demand after the COVID-19 outbreak in the Aviation company. As you can see, both of the line for the supply and demand has been decreasing. This is because of the movement control order by the government, which is MCO, and most of the flight have been halted and suspended to prevent the COVID-19 outbreak. And the company have been faces a big losses because there's no flight and there's no profit, and they have to cover the workers' wages, but they doesn't have a profit, but they still have to give the wages to the workers. So that is why now the company has set a very higher price to cover the big losses that they have during the MCO.
That brings us to the end of the presentation. I would like to summarize by saying the ripple effect of the COVID-19 pandemic has reverberated through every corner of the globe. As we can see, COVID-19 has seriously disrupted the aviation industry. Air travel has been one of the hardest hit industries in the COVID-19 pandemic. AirAsia flight bans and cancellation due to MCO and compounded by travel bans or restrictions on international flights imposed by countries around the world have caused a staggering impact on the AirAsia airline. All parties were desperate attempt to flatten the curve as well as to contain the COVID-19 pandemic by imposing full lockdowns and travel restrictions, shutting down airports and completely sealing their borders. The financial of Asia is now looking fragile because the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the aviation industry has been so significant. It also has hugely affected and adversely impacted Malaysia's tourism industry, as tourists from around the world are cancelling bookings and delaying travel due to the outbreak of COVID-19. As we all know, travel is now strict, with the governments limiting travels between borders except for the necessity to combat the spread of COVID-19 outbreak. That's all. Thank you.